Well, we got lucky. We were sitting on a deck of logs eating our lunch. We were in there cruising the timber, and I happened to be looking at the tree, and I saw a little head appear in the cavity, you know. And she was they were cleaning out the nest at the time, and we walked up to the base of the tree and stood there, and it goes dock, 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 and every now and then she'd appear and throw splinters out of the hole, and then the other bird called and flew from across the forest and landed there, and they changed positions.
This is Peak Moment. We are living at a peak of human innovation, information, wealth, and health. But we're also at a peak of population and consumption, with rising temperatures and declining resources fueled by cheap oil and gas. Peak Moment Television, bringing you examples of positive responses to energy decline and climate change through local community action.
I'm with Matthew Hall, who's a restoration forester and does work with the forest here at Aprovecho. What do you do for them?
For Aprovecho, I teach the forestry course, the sustainable forestry course here when we run internships. And my job is also to provide the community here with wood products.
Okay.
Ranging from firewood through small vine maple sticks to building lumber, construction lumber.
So what is sustainable forestry? What is involved? What are we looking at here?
I once saw a really good quote on that in an African magazine. And to me, sustainability is being able to use some of this resource without overusing it. Being able to make use of particularly the weaker trees in this forest system that are probably going to die anyway as this forest progresses from this closed canopy situation into a more open canopy situation.
So what are we seeing? Show us?
Okay, so where we're standing right here is amongst a little pocket of trees that were not cut when this property was clear cut in the mid-50s.
Okay.
And these trees, this one right here that we're both touching, probably around 112, 120 years old.
Douglas fir?
Douglas fir, yeah. We're predominantly Douglas fir here. And in the form of management that we've adopted here is to remove the weaker trees and make product out of them. And it's to maintain these trees in the forest forever. So they're going to stay, they won't be harvested. If they fall over or if they break, like you can see the top of this one that broke back in the mid-90s, then they will stay on the floor in the forest to rot down into the forest.
And become soil and habitat.
Exactly, to feed the forest. Provide what we call a bank account of large woody debris.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can see these trees are, even though they're not particularly big for their age, they're bigger than the other trees that we have here. And in keeping those in the forest, they add another dimension, another layer to the structure of this forest. If we took all these out, we would be even-aged monoculture.
And so your aim is to have trees of different ages?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, different ages and different species.
What I notice is that you have ground and trees and nothing in between. Was that part of the management you did?
No, this is, if you look carefully off into the woods here, you can see that there are small grand firs coming up. There's an understory of small grand firs.
Okay.
And this is a result of this forest reseeding itself. This was never planted. Oh. It reseeded itself after the cut in the mid-50s, and it came in very thick. And so the trees closed canopy very early on and suppressed everything else out.
Okay.
Right. Remember that in the Douglas fir region, when you get a good Douglas fir soil, it will form a closed canopy really early and suppress everything. Okay. And even the blackberries. Yeah. It's the best way to suppress blackberries is dense Douglas fir.
So.
And let me finish,
go ahead.
Finish my train of thought right there. I do tend to grasshopper about quite a bit, but over the years, as we've thinned the forest and as nature has thinned it with periodic disturbances like snowstorms and ice storms and windstorms, the canopy has opened up and more light is reaching the forest floor. And so the herbage, you see the creeping blackberries and the snowberry and the little grand fir saplings you see over there have come in since I've been here. And I've worked here for almost 20 years.
Okay.
So, and all this stuff has appeared since I've started working here. when I first came here, it was extremely dark in here, and all you had on the ground was fir needles.
So you're bringing back some diversity with the sun. What's the long-term vision for this forest?
The long-term vision, and that's where these guys come in again, is that we are attempting to grow a managed ancient forest, which is something that I don't think anybody else is doing. I've heard of people running Douglas fir forests on long rotations, maybe 140 years, 160 years. Obviously, the industry standard is like 37 to 45 between planting and clear cut. What we're intending to do here is never actually clear cut this. There might be, at some point in the future, there might be some patch cuts where we take out an acre or a half an acre to get some different regeneration happening. But what we intend to happen here is that we just continually thin the forest, and as these 55-year-old trees that you see here get further and further apart, the little saplings that are growing in the understory will get more and more light, and they will grow up, and eventually we'll be managing those. The little ones, when the little ones are the size of the big ones, we'll be managing those, and there'll still be some of these original cohort still here.
Want to show me the little ones? What
Sure,
you're going to be doing with that?
Let's come on over here.
A managed ancient forest. That's something only humans can do, huh? Now, it's sort of like your best, is it like being old growth, but as best you can?
Yeah. Trying to create those conditions where we have large, decadent trees, snags, and then a biodiversity of plant species and a diversity of ages as well.
Okay.
So, and here you can see these little grand fir saplings right here. And, you know, this obviously had, I mean, there's, right here is that's 1 year's growth right there.
Wow.
This year didn't grow as much. It may be because the trees around this hole have filled out a bit. So eventually, these will be big trees.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll be managing these beyond my lifetime, probably.
So what you do is these grow, and one of them is dominant, which is sort of, you'll be thinning?
Yes. This would be, I have not done this yet, but, you know, obviously this one would probably come out at this point, and that one, you know, but as we're still thinning through here, I'm a little loath to select anything right now because, you know, if I drop a tree into this clump, I might wipe this one out, but not this one. And so at this point, I think that they've got enough light to make it. And this little pocket that we're in right here is the result of a snowstorm in 2004.
So the big ones came down?
You can see this tree here was uprooted.
Okay.
And these were harvested and went into lumber for the community meeting hall.
And you mentioned that you don't harvest with machinery. I mean,
right. We either yard logs out of here with a wheeled arch that we pull by hand.
A wheeled arch. Okay.
Or we use a team of horses.
Wow.
For the bigger stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're not compacting the soil.
Exactly. Right. Minimal disturbance, and it's really quiet and gentle and slow, you know. And it's a great learning experience for students too. So
you're teaching students about how to how to do this kind of forest management.
Yep. And of course, when you get involved in horse logging, everything that you do is done by hand. If you need to roll the log, it has to be rolled with a peavey. It's not, you can't pick it up there's no machine to pick it up. So you've got
particular tools for that kind of work.
Exactly, right. Old school tools for that kind of work.
So what you're doing is not only restoring the forest here, you're restoring practices from older times. Must feel really satisfying to
It's
you.
great. It's great. Yeah. And the horses are great to work with. You know, they have a few challenges. It's not like a machine. You never turn them off. You know, so.
Oh.
But so that's kind of in a nutshell what we have here. And we were looking at that snag back over there a while ago. That broke, if I remember right, in 1995. There was a little windstorm we had in October, and it snapped that off. And so those snags obviously it's an old tree, so it's going to be staying in the forest forever anyway, but we don't cut those down because we think they're dangerous or anything like that. We retain those so that we've got habitat for woodpeckers and cavity nesters. And likewise, this small tree right here, whose top broke out during the snowstorm that we had here.
Right.
I left that one in deliberately rather than harvest it for firewood or lumber, because it's good to have a variety of sizes of snags, and that'll crumble to the ground sooner or later. Also, also in that category, the larger grand firs are suffering from a beetle called the Scolitis beetle, which is also called the fir engraver beetle. And we might, if you're interested, we could probably see some of the engraving on that snag over there. So the larger trees, when they become stressed, they get attacked by this beetle, which kills them. And those, we had a bunch down over there, died. Those, I will leave them in the woods to become snags as long as they aren't close to any of the buildings. Because they don't stand for long. They tend to break off after a few years. And they're big, you know, they're huge. And I don't know, have you seen the community? Have you been in the community hall?
Yeah.
All that wood paneling in the ceiling, that's all grand fir. Wow. And that's all from trees that have been killed by the beetle.
Okay, so you're using...
we harvest them, we harvest them quickly. And those are all around the edge of the sheds and the houses over there. And you have to harvest those quickly because the bugs get into them really fast and chew really huge holes. They get this really big, like, boar that gets in there. It's like the grub that you get in a tequila bottle. You know? It's huge. Not that I haven't, so I've been told. So I've been told, yeah. So you know, that's another way of recruiting snags. And you know, snag recruitment in young forests is a really important part of forest management, because as we have successionally harvested the ancient forest and removed the ancient forest, we have reduced the amount of forest that contains snags. Because snags are particularly prevalent in ancient forest.
Yes.
It just takes time to build up dead trees. You know, and the more time that passes, the more periodic disturbances that happen, the more breakage and death that happens. So it's really important within this young forest to create and maintain snags.
You're actually managing in this forest life, health, death, soil building, a whole range of things.
Yep. That's what I believe sustainable forestry is about.
Matthew, thank you. This has been a great little
You're most welcome.
mini course. Thank you for that.